almost 3 years since I first put out a video on the Nissan Pathfinder. And we leased this vehicle and the lease is almost up. So I figured what time better than now to do a quick recap on what I think about this vehicle, how it's done for us over the years, and what I would suggest to you whether you're looking to lease or buy this vehicle. And with that said, let's get right into it. I'm going to start off with what's bad first. And what's bad about it, SK? Well, I'll tell you. First thing I'm going to start off with is just kind of like a quirk, not a major issue, but what it is just funky little electronic things. Sometimes when I'm driving on a beautiful day like today, nothing wrong, no crazy wind or rain or anything like that, and I'll have to turn the car on and off to show you, but right next to the traction control off is another one that has the car with the swerves and there's nothing written underneath. Now, while I'm driving, that other one will turn on the same time the crash light turns on, for no reason at all. So I'll turn it off and turn it on just so you can actually see what that light looks like. And it should be right about there. You see it? Disregard that sound, it's just our camera system. So that's just one thing. Now, I'm going to turn off the car again and turn it back on, because the next one I have to say, and it only happened one time, but when I was out in the middle of the woods, you know, out in the sticks, I turned on the car randomly while, you know, we're on vacation, and when I started it up, it didn't say Nissan. Again, disregard that sound. It said Infinity. And then it went through like a 2-3 minute long loading process of Infinity whatever. Now, I know Infinity is the kind of more premium version to Nissan and so forth, but that's just odd to happen. You know what I mean? And again, it only happened once. It's not like it affected anything from what I know, but it's definitely odd. I've never had that happen in another car. One other thing I will say is the key. Obviously, we get 2 keys with the car. Now, we did install a remote car system with the keys, but way before we ever did that, we had problems with one of these keys for about 1.5 years. And we had new batteries put in by the dealership maybe 2 or 3 times. We had them look at them, reprogram them. And I'll be honest, I haven't had the problem for a while, but there was a certain point where one of the keys wouldn't lock or unlock the car. It just decided what it wanted to do. Okay, today it won't lock the car. Today it won't unlock the car. And then sometimes it would start the car. Like, I never had a problem starting the car, but then it would say that it doesn't recognize the key that started it. Again, just funky electronic stuff. And yes, if you take the key out of the fob, you can stick it in the door and still open and close the car. So again, it wouldn't have been the end of the world, but still a concern. And one thing I've noticed about a lot of Nissans is like the air control and stuff. Now, you know, say you turn on the air. Okay, it's blowing. Now, I can't say it's going to do it right now. Let me turn it down because it's already pretty hot in here. So you got the air on, you got the AC on, whatever you want to do, right? All right. And then I turn it off. Now, I can't say if it'll do it or not, but I've had plenty of times where you saw me turn it off, and when I go to turn it back on, here, I'll unplug the camera so it doesn't keep doing that. When I go to turn it back on, the air system would turn on. Hear that? And then it turned off. Sometimes it'll just stay on. So I'm okay with that. I guess maybe it has to do some kind of system check or something like that real quick. But the air was never on. I've never had another car where you can see the dial off and it just kind of does some cycling. So if that's the excuse, I can understand it. I don't think it should still do it. But again, I've had situations where the air wasn't on and then, you know what I mean, it turns on the next time you turn on the car. So again, none of that stuff made the drive terrible or, you know, whatever, but the key thing was definitely the worst. You know what I mean? You just can't open and close the car with the button, especially if you're gonna walk away from it or something like that. So sorry for the long rant, but that's definitely one of the key drivers of what I think is bad about this Pathfinder and kind of Nissan in general. So some of these you'll recognize from some of the other videos I shot, like 5 more things I hate about the Nissan Pathfinder. And one of them, and I still will admit is certainly a problem, is the lift gate. This is just too short. I'm not even 6 feet tall, I'm just under. And just standing here, my head touches the top. I can't tell you how many times I've bumped my head against this thing. I mean, there's certainly a lot of space back here. I can appreciate that. But when you're back here a lot doing groceries and stuff, it's just something to be careful of. Even some taller women, or even if you're not that tall but you're wearing heels, it may be a problem. Now, I won't go on as long of a rant as I have in my other videos, but I will never let this down. Now, this cubby is useful. You know, we do store stuff down here, as you can see. We do have a plug in there. We do use it. You know what I mean? There is other USBs, but the size, look at that. Even 4 fingers, not even my whole hand, is tough to get in there. You can only put your hand sideways. And that's tough when you got to kind of use something like this with the charger. So this cubby, while usable, certainly could have been more open and spacious for a normal size hand. End of rant. So the last thing on the list for the bad is going to be the tranny. Now, I haven't had any significant issues with the transmission other than a mass flow airflow sensor, which kind of bogged down the engine. Dealer fixed that, but that's a different story. But as far as the transmission, you know, there have been the stories of the shutter. Well, my wife was actually the first one to pick it up, and she was right. Next time I went to take it on the highway, I felt it as I was accelerating from about 30 to 60. Just a little bit, you know what I mean? And it wasn't something that was gonna make the ride terrible. I doubt if anybody was riding in the car, they may have even kind of noticed it. But I certainly did. And it's here and there. I haven't really noticed it that much recently. That was maybe about 4 or 5 months ago. But I do notice as I decelerate towards a stop, you can kind of feel a little bit of shudder as well. And again, the ride overall is pretty smooth, nice, but this car has 35,000 miles on it. It just makes me wonder what it would be like with another 75 to 100,000 miles on it. So, you know, that's just my thoughts on that. So one reason you may be looking at this vehicle is simply just the way it looks. I mean, for some people that's enough. And while it's not enough for me, it is an important factor. And to this day, I still think this vehicle looks amazing. The shape, the lines, the stance of it, it's aggressive but sleek, stylish. It's certainly something that is gonna hold up well over even more time than we've had it. So now why am I pointing at the ground? Well, not really pointing at the ground so much as the tow hitch. And why is that? Because this thing, as I've said before, or you may not know, tows 6,000 pounds. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, 6,000 pounds. That's a lot for any family size SUV. That's a lot for even some smaller trucks. And it's just impressive. Towing our boat or our camper has never been an issue. You can barely even tell that it's behind you. And this car comes with the tow mode. Not only do you have the ability to tow a lot of weight, but the car is sensitive and can pick up when you're leaving from a stop, and also understand when you're going down hills and so forth to kind of use the hill assist and understand that you do have weight behind you. So it's definitely a good feeling all around, and it's just a really impressive feature of this Nissan Pathfinder. So a great feature of the car is that it has a third row, but not just a third row, an actually usable third row. So let me show you. Flick that up, roll it forward. I have well over 1.5 feet of space right here, a nice platform. I'll put my foot up, step inside, and I'm in. I still have about 6 inches of knee room. I have air vents back here. I have cup holders. There's even a 12-volt outlet behind me if you really need electricity all the way back here. Huge windows. And although the seat is a little low to the ground, it's still padded very well. Lots of comfort. And it's not a bad place to be. I know a lot of third rows get a lot of scrutiny. I mean, unless you're in like a huge Suburban or something, they always get a lot of complaints. But this is a car, a family car, that you can use the third row even for adults. Now, an adult may not want to go cross country, but they certainly won't going on a long hour trip in the back seat if they have to. So, just something to keep in mind. One thing I truly enjoy about this car, 2 things really that kind of go hand in hand. One is how roomy it is, and then the premium feel to it. So I know there's a lot of big cars, but when you get inside, sometimes it can kind of feel a little tight. Something that comes to mind is like a Grand Cherokee or something. I don't know why, but every time I get in those cars, they're nice for sure. But I feel like it seems like there's more room. You expect more room looking at it from the outside than you get. When I get in here, there's just plenty of space. Between me and the passenger, we are in our own 2 worlds. You don't feel like you're pressed up on them at all. There's just enough room at the door. It doesn't come all the way tight right here. You know what I mean? It pushes in. Nice long armrests. Even in the middle seat, and again, like you saw in the back, there's just a lot of room all around. And as far as the premium feel, you know, you just got like the gloss black. It's fake, but you got like the metal looking trim around. Certain pieces that you're touching, like right here, it's nice and soft. Even on the door, it's nice and soft. Nice chrome look door handle. The gauges. It gives you a good feeling. I know I realized that the first time I sat in one to go test drive one, and even today, you sit in it. From the outside, it looks great, and you sit on the inside, and it feels like a good vehicle to be in. So that's certainly important when you're going to be in a vehicle driving around all the time. So that pretty much wraps it for the good. And I want to remind you, this is a base model. So all of that said, that's for even just the base model. The last thing I want to wrap up as far as the good, and it may not seem that way, is the fuel economy. Now you may say, SK, come on, that's an average of 20 miles a gallon. That's right, average. So you need to understand, out of all the driving we've done, and it's cool that it actually showed you some of the separate years. Out of all the driving we've done, we've averaged 20 miles a gallon. It has statistics of being able to get 26 miles per gallon. This car will get 26 miles a gallon if you want it to. It's pretty impressive how big this vehicle is and what it can really do. And even for in town, I mean, still on average right now to be averaging 19 miles a gallon and do a lot of in-town driving, especially since we're not going to work, we're working from home right now, I think it's pretty impressive. So, you know, leave your comments down below. Maybe you disagree with me, and that's fine. Let me know why. SK Lifestyle will always get back to you. I'm gonna set it right at 65, and now I'm hitting a nice flat piece of highway. It's moving around a little, but you can see it is steady at about 26, 27 miles per gallon. It's between the 25 and 30. And again, just so you can see, 65 miles an hour, cruise control on. Not too shabby at all. So everything told, where do you stand, SK? Well, my suggestion to you guys and girls, lease it. That's right, lease it. I think these Nissans are great value for leases. There's a lot of features that they come with. Even the towing capacity with this car for a base model is crazy. You know what I mean? And that all depends. Maybe you don't tow anything. That doesn't matter to you. I get it. But I do think they're great cars to lease. And all the little things that I've described, you're handing the car back. None of these down the road problems, if they do become one, are going to be my problem. That's what I know. So that's why I would say lease it. Now, I'm a Honda guy myself, although I did just pick up a Toyota Highlander. Check that video up above. But, you know, if you're looking for a car with a lot of used miles on it or something like that, or even just a kind of newer car you plan to keep for a long time, I would just want to kind of stick with the die-hard, you know, true Honda, Toyota value, quality that they come with. You know what I mean? There's not as much up in the air as far as their longevity. And so that's where my opinion is. So I've said a lot in this review. Maybe something that you don't agree with, maybe that you do. Leave those comments down below. Are you guys in the market for one of these? Do you lease one currently? Own one currently? I'm certainly interested to know what your thoughts are on it as well. That said, this is probably going to be my last video with the Nissan Pathfinder. Now, I will have other videos coming up, more on the Highlander that I purchased. I have a review and some other videos on a Honda Accord Coupe that I'll be doing. And also whatever new vehicle that we replace this one with, as well as other vehicles that I come into contact with here and there. So be sure to subscribe to SK Lifestyle to check out all of that. With that said, I hope that you appreciate this video. If you did, give it a like, share, again, comment, and most importantly, be sure to subscribe to SK Lifestyle. I will see you guys next time.